Hi guys, I'm Zar Aligarbes and I will be presenting for Group 4, and our discussion is all about the two generations that is called Baby Boomers and Generation X. For Baby Boomers, their ages as of today is 52 years old to 70, and Generation X, their ages as of today is 37 years old to 51. So let's talk about their characteristics. For baby boomers, they have strong work ethic, self-assured, goal-centric, disciplined, and enjoy working in teams. For Generation X, they're very value-oriented, price-conscious, working to live, adapt to live, and eager to change. So most of these characteristics are based in the book, but we found more characteristics in Google, and we thought that this is very vital to be included in our presentation. So let me explain to you, where did they develop these characteristics? Where did this all came from? So for the first question, what factors gave a rise to the characteristics of each group? Let me read our answer first before I could explain it. The major factors that gave a rise to the characteristics of the baby boomers and Generation X were economic state of the country. The Americans were enjoying the newfound prosperity, which resulted in a baby boom. The children born as a result were dubbed the baby boomers. But in the other hand, the Generation X were economically difficult than the boomers. As stated in the book, the Generation X came of age at the Marcos era. Some call that era in crisis. Job opportunities were few, which resulted in increase of OFWs. So in this answer says that they developed those kind of characteristics because of the economic state of the country, the economic condition of the country. So to mention Americans, at this time it was the post World War II. So the war has just ended, in English speaking countries, especially America, were very prosperous at that time, which resulted in a baby boom. That time, the population increased and pregnancy increased drastically at that time. So that's why they are called the baby boom. In the Generation X, it is quite the opposite. They were struggling financially, and for the Filipinos, most of the Filipinos, they came of age at the Marcos era. Yeah. And then I asked my titos and titas what happened back then, and they quickly replied, I don't know what happened to the money. I really what happened back then with all the cash. So all jokes aside, let us proceed. What does each generation group respond to marketing efforts? What is the reason for this? Well, as mentioned in the book, baby boomers don't like mentioning their age. And if they are your target market, it's better to use traditional way: radio, magazines, televisions, and newspapers. With the Generation X, brand loyalty isn't that important to them. They listen well to the product benefits and features. Generation X tends to be more value oriented and price conscious in their purchases. So from that answer, you can now differentiate the two generations. So you cannot you can't promote your product the same way to each generation. So the way that you're promoting your product to the Generation X, you cannot promote it the same way as the baby boomers, because the most effective way in marketing in your efforts in marketing for the baby boomers, the most effective way is through the traditional way. the old-fashioned way, which is the radio, magazines, and televisions and newspapers. And for the Generation X, it's better to market them the value meal. If you know that they're the more sulit kind of buyer. They're the kind of buyer that checks if they have freebies, if it's free shipping, and they tend to look for the best buy that they can spend their money wisely, and that's the kind of buyers they are. So let's proceed to the next question. Why should marketers know the preference of each generation? Good question. It's very vital to distinguish the preference of each generation because it allows marketers to target an audience on the basis of their similarities and dissimilarities. Understanding each generation and their preference is extremely important for the success and generational marketing. So, why should marketers know the preference? Why is it important to know the preference? So they can distinguish how they approach each generation. Just like what I said earlier, you cannot promote your product to a Gen X the same way as a baby boomer. You have you have to know your approach. You have to differentiate your approach. You can't approach a baby boomer the same way to a Gen X. And when you know the preference and when you can determine, you identify your preference, you can now tailor your marketing strategy to your target market. Easy example, Koi Herbal Capsule. So, what is their target market? The elderly, no, senior citizens. So, what are what is the way in marketing to them? The traditional way, because they listen to radio, TV, newspapers, and magazines, brochures. That's why you'll never hear Koi Herbal Capsule being promoted in Facebook because it doesn't work. You always hear Koi Herbal Capsule mapalit sa tanan mga butika in radios, right? It rings a bell in radios, but you'll never see Lola Remedios, Koi Herbal Capsule, Health and Wellness being promoted heavily in Facebook. Maybe you'll see it from time to time, but you'll always hear it rampantly in the traditional way as mentioned before. So that will be all. Thank you for listening to me and peace.